name is Zhang. I'm 21 years old and I fence for a Division I Ivy League school, and this is my interview, I guess. Okay, well, when my sister and I were younger, we were always looking at sports to keep us physically active, and at the time that was really the only goal, just keeping up with exercise and a healthy amount of it. We found fencing because it was a martial arts sport, something that's easy to forget that you're competing with somebody. And as a kid, that was so exciting. Like, yeah, I get to hold a sword. I get to, hit somebody with it. And that was just, it was really new. But I think a better question to kind of ask is why did you stick with fencing? And sticking with fencing was something that I think our whole family could do, was because there's just constant room for improvement and there was just constant room for growth. And namely because it's an individual sport. I think that the other team sports that we tried, you're not necessarily guaranteed to feel like you're improving. When you're doing fencing, it's really all on you, with the support of your family, friends, and coaches, of course. But I think that's the reason why we stick with it. Same as my sister, I've been fencing for 11 years now, though it feels a lot shorter. I think the biggest thing that I enjoy about fencing is active decision making, which is kind of a buzzword in fencing, but when I have really reflected on it, it's this constant process where you're always having to think about what to do next. And it's challenging, but also really rewarding. And I feel like you can't get that out of any other sport or any other activity. I can't really name events off the top of my head because, quite frankly, I've forgotten a lot of them. But I think one of the most rewarding things that I've ever been to was the 2016 Godolo World Cup, Cadet World Cup, where I fenced internationally for the first time. And there was something quite humbling about being on the international scene with a bunch of people from foreign countries, all your age, all competing for the same goals. And made me realize that this is like a worldwide sport. People all across the world are really trying to achieve the same goals that you are. And that gave me quite a lot of motivation. Now that I've gotten into college, there's this very different aspect to fencing that I hadn't realized before, that it's a team sport as well as an individual sport. Back when I was in the club, all my clubmates, coaches, and mentors were all there to support you behind the scenes, but once you're there on the strip, you're all by yourself. Collegiate fencing is very different because you're rotating with other saberists, and that makes it such that you're constantly giving feedback to each other, constantly prepping each other to fence for the next opponent. There's something about team fencing that's really exciting. Quite frankly, I think motivation was one of my biggest struggles when I was younger, mainly because every time I lost, I got stuck in this kind of rut where I thought, well, I'm going to lose the next bout no matter what. I'm just not in the right mental position for this. And I think the biggest way to improve motivation in fencing was actually outside of fencing. Just how was my outlook on life outside of the sport? Really, I noticed that once my grades got a little better, once I was having better relationships with my friends, once my overall evening was more productive, I found that fencing just improved a lot as well. I think realizing that it's not just the sport, it's also an integral part of your life when you're training. And all these external factors, even if you don't think that they're having an effect on it, they really do. So I have to say, when I was quite frankly happier in high school, I tended to fence better. I think this one is a bit obvious, but regarding workouts, I'd say lunges. Lunging mainly from a squat position forward, sort of propelling yourself. I think that's really integral because that's your key move that you're going to be using for executing every single attack that you do and every single middle touch. Especially coming from somebody whose middle game isn't really strong, improving lunges has always really been a goal of mine, such that I can get it as fast and as long as possible. I think fencing has really made me more humble and kind of reduced this ego that I had when I was younger. I'm very honest about this in the sense that not constantly, but losing on the strip made me realize that it's okay to lose sometimes. It's not unacceptable to not have a victory every single bout. And also made me realize that there's kids all across the states, all across the world, all your age, attempting to really find similar goals and have those similar motivations as you, when you realize that you're not gunning at this alone, that other people are competing with you as well. It gave me the sense of, I guess, it's okay to not be the most successful fencer. Just focus on yourself as an individual and realize that everybody else is trying just as hard as you are, if not more. This one comes off as a bit weird, but I'd say Columbus, Ohio, mainly because I've been there so many times. It was just kind of funny. You would look at the North American Cup schedule and you'd say, oh, Columbus, Ohio again. But there was something very familiar about that city once I had gone there so many times. In the sense, fencing has you traveling a lot if you're so inclined to do tournaments. And there's something comforting about having a tournament in the same city, though I know my opinion might be different from a lot of people's. I like cooking, but when I say cooking, I mean more along the lines of like watching these like YouTube beginners cooking lessons and things like that. And this also is a bit like offbeat, but I'd say I'd really enjoy grocery shopping. There's something very invigorating about seeing all these different products and things that you can choose to make. And it's like, yeah, I'm creating something. I'm creating food. This is really rewarding. I think Coach Setsi is innovative. She's always coming up with new ways to practice. I think I remember once you had gotten this fencing music kind of playlist thing, and we would all do drills to that, and I thought that was very, very different to do, and it made fencing more refreshing. I think Coach Chris is practical. He's not always going to sugarcoat how your fencing is, and at times that can be a little hard to hear. But at the same time, it's sometimes what you need to hear. You really need somebody to tell you, quite frankly, what you're doing wrong and how you're going to go about doing it right. And I think that that's extremely important to have. I think Maestro is most of all wise. He has years of experience doing the sport. And when I got to have lessons with him, I felt this overwhelming sense of like, yeah, he really knows what he's doing, and he really knows what actions are supposed to be refined in what way. I think I would have asked my teammates and clubmates for more advice, because I was just so focused on asking my sister, my parents, or my coaches for advice. But at the same time, like, you have this rich network of, fellow fencers doing the same things that you are. And I feel like and I do this now in college, actually. I tend to ask my teammates, hey, do you think we could work through this drill or this action a little bit? Like, at the same time, I'll also offer my help to others. I think that the fencers that you're competing with, that you're training with, they're your most valuable resources at the end of the day, because they're the ones who are also fencing you, quite frankly. So if I were to go back in time and do it all over again, I would have asked my fellow fencers for more help. I think this is a bit specific, but I see myself working in either healthcare administration or within the life sciences industry, specifically within medical technology. I'll be hopefully getting my master's in public health by the end of 2023 at the Yale School of Public Health. And I think with that, my main goal would just to be going into healthcare. I think in fencing, for me personally, it was really easy to get self-centered and thinking that the whole sport is just about you. And realizing that there are parents behind the scenes, or not just behind the scenes, but literally quite there next to you, made me realize that this sport it's a collaborative effort, really. It is an individual sport at the end of the day, which I think I stressed earlier. But knowing that you're maybe not necessarily your family, but maybe that there's always people behind the scenes rooting for you, pushing for you, investing time, money, all of these kinds of things. It makes you realize that, like, you're not alone, even if at times it really feels like you are. And even if it's bringing you stress, even if you're, I know that my parents brought me a little bit of stress when I was competing. They really want what's best for you. And knowing that you have that behind your back is reassuring once you get that perspective. I'm of the opinion that it was very easy to forget about my memorable moments because they tended to be quite stressful. But I would say that I think there was once, Chris, when you maybe sub in at one of the junior team events with Isaac and no, it was Isaac and Kalan.
Oh.
Yeah, Isaac and Kalan. You made me sub in for somebody who was injured. And I was so stressed because I think I was like 13 at the time doing the junior team event. But it was actually funny because I think I ended up scoring the most touches out of everybody. And there's something very, very interesting about, having this underdog mentality. Like, I'm the youngest person in this event, so I gotta fence my best. And my parents tell me to this day still, that was the best that you've ever fenced, was when you were 13 at the junior team event. That's a good thing and a bad thing. It's kind of funny when your parents tell you, after you've gotten into college, you haven't fenced that great since you were 13. But no, I'm kidding. But yeah, that was my most memorable moment.